Welcome back to the show, Nassauman Hockey Podcast, Spooky Edition. James, was this your first Halloween with your daughter?
No, she was with us last year too. She was only like 5 months old, so this is the first one where she like walked around and like did stuff.
Yeah, what did she dress up as this year?
So her favorite book to read before bed is The Little Yellow Bee. So she was a bee, and she was just terrified of the wings that we got her to put on. They were just cute little bee wings that she just wanted no part of. So she was everything but the wings of a bee.
Interesting. Couldn't commit to the whole bit. That's definitely something. Did you actually went trick or treating?
Yeah, just like a couple houses like in the neighborhood that like know us, like no, not like full fledged because like she's not eating candy yet. Like it's not something that we've introduced for her. So she's only 15 months. So um, yeah, not full on trick or treating, but like the neighbors know who she is, and like she wears bows all the time. So like they made like special bags for her with like little bows in it and like
That's
uh,
fun.
baby puffs and stuff. So yeah, it was fun. She had a good time.
We had 0 trick or treaters, and of course we had 3 bags of candy, but 0. I'm not even. So I was upstairs before eating Tootsie Rolls and Skittles and all sorts of stuff. I don't like having candy in the house. I barely even have any kind of junk food just because I don't have the willpower. So I have the willpower in the store. I can just walk past it.
Yeah,
But
I
now
get that.
that Maggie and I live together, she's a candy person. So she was all about. I was very into giving it out, and if kids were going to be walking around, but like I said, I haven't seen anything. Before we jump into the
well,
go ahead.
wait. What's your candy? Like your
All right, that was what I was
go-to?
going to say before we jump in here. We've probably done this before, but I was going to ask you the same thing before we jump into the real scary part of the show, which has been the Islanders lately. I think my all-time favorite, I love a Take 5.
That's a
It's like
common, not common. That's been a popular answer recently.
yeah, I love them. They're great for road trips if you get the king size with whatever. Sometimes I feel like I've seen a couple different versions of it, but they have a few. They're good road trip like snack / candy. It kind of scratches a few different itches there. I mean, I love Skittles. I love dark chocolate Milky Way.
See, it's funny. Like I was listening to another show and they were talking about candy is like Skittles and gummy stuff, and chocolate is its own category. So they were saying like you can't put those two in the same basket. So even when I asked the question like what's your go-to candy, I wasn't separating the two, and now that we're talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this conversation that you have to separate them. So I
I
guess
don't disagree with that. What's yours? If you were going to separate it. I don't know how you say, like, chocolate is how many different kinds of, I don't know. I guess all right, so you're talking about like chocolate, anything like candy bars, Take 5s or Snickers or whatever, and then you want gummy situation. All right, you go.
so. I guess if I was going chocolate, and I don't know if this is like my coming of age old person pick,
100
but
grand.
dude, yeah, like I've been obsessed with 100 grand, and so I was at my mother-in-law's thing. She had a huge bowl of candy, and I saw the bags that she bought, and I was like, no, 100 grand's in there, damn it. And I was like rifling through the bowl, and there was 100 grand at the bottom, and I was like, no way. So I snagged it. I said, F all you kids, I'm taking this, I'm sorry. And I put it in my pocket, and I walked into I walked into the kitchen. I said to my mother-in-law, I was like, I found the only 100 grand. She's like, oh no, I have a stash. I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I have a stash. And she put like 4 of them in my pocket. I was like, all right, day made. So 100 grand I've recently, I think, has become like my favorite. Otherwise it's a classic Kit Kat. I don't know, just like the crispness of a Kit Kat. And then candy, I think I gotta go with the watermelon Sour Patch. Those are just so good.
I think on that side of the house, a Sour Patch Kid, an Airhead, and Skittles, or sour Skittles. Is that still a thing? It used to be. God, I
Yeah,
don't think the top of my mouth has recovered from the first time that I have it. It tears your. It's like eating Fruit Loops or something. Just absolutely tears the top of your mouth apart. Or Cocoa Puffs or any of those. Like
Captain Crunch. That was the one that
Captain
tore your
Crunch.
mouth
It's
up.
like tiny meteors that you're just chewing on. It just absolutely destroys your mouth. Chocolate. I think the Take 5 dark chocolate Milky Way. I think my off the board pick is a crunch bar.
Okay, so
Like those thin like Rice Krispie jams.
I got into a debate about this, that if you like the Crunch bar, just get the Bunch of Crunch. They're way better.
Honestly, I don't know what that is.
What?
I'm sure
it's like Raisinets, but just Crunch.
I need to pay way more attention in the
Yeah.
candy aisle, or go down the candy aisle at all. I don't.
Maybe they're discontinued. I could be I could be outdated with this, but Bunch of Crunch is like a box of little Raisinette type Crunch bars.
That's very funny. So speaking of discontinued, not Sweet Tarts, but I don't know if it was Willy Wonka or whatever that company was. They used to make the like chewy Sweet Tarts. Now they're like the chalky things, and it's weird.
Ugh.
But they used to make these like kind of sour Sweet Tart things. I love those, but you can get things like that at a Cracker Barrel. They have old candy there. There's actually a spot on Long Island for those of you that live out by Stony Brook and you go down Port, the Frigate, which is, I don't know if it's like a touristy thing, but it's a giant candy shop and ice cream and all sorts of stuff. And they have some older candy there. And I think they have stuff like that. You can get like candy cigarettes and random like old ice cream truck candy, I guess. That like is a very particular. Remember those chewy hamburgers that they used to make?
Yeah.
And it was like the same time as Warheads became really popular.
Yeah.
Thinking like 1997 or 1998, where like Jawbreakers became a thing. Maybe like 99, 2000, like everyone had one. Yeah, you can get real nostalgic pretty quick on candy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
dumping
there's
a retro candy shop by us. It's awesome.
Do you ever just get the Chiclets gum and you just pop the whole box in your mouth?
Yeah, definitely. They have like the candy cigarette. Remember the candy cigarettes off the like ice cream truck?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. That place, the Frigate, has the boxes of the candy cigarettes, which were awful.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the what were the other things you were talking about? The little circular things.
I don't know. But they had
bottle caps. That's what I thought you were referencing. Bottle caps.
Oh no, they have candy cigarettes. Like I said, awful. Just chalky.
Yeah. The worst
mess. They definitely got us on that. They were hoping that led to us buying actual cigarettes, but to no avail, at least for me. To the actual scary stuff to talk about, other than getting old, which we're just going to ignore that. The New York Islanders. So I want to start off here with some stats. They're off to, I think I saw their best start since, was it 15 or 16 or 14, 15, something like that. But in nearly a decade, their best start, which is surprising considering the runs they went on. But we know that during the regular season, they weren't the best team, even in the Barry Trotz era during the regular season. Prior to Monday's game, so on top of them having one of their best starts, heading into Detroit on Monday, one of their best starts in nearly a decade, The line of Engval, Nelson, Palmieri had the sixth best expected goal percentage in the league. Also, as of Monday, so before the Detroit game, our friends at Isles Fix had this stat: in 101.3 minutes paired together, Ryan Pulak and Alexander Romanov have yet to allow a goal. The only pair to have played more minutes together and not allow a goal is Hughes Hronik in Vancouver. And they just allowed their first goal the other night against Detroit. So it was over 101 minutes. Horvat is also on pace for 40 goals. For those wondering what his pace is looking like, that's what I saw the other night. And so on with a lot of these positive things. Sorokin's playing very, very well. Pajot's winning some faceoffs. Cizikas is getting on the scoreboard. That fourth line, I think each of them have at least one goal at this point. So my question after all of that is, why are we so mad? And rather, despite all these good things, why is there so much to be mad about with the New York Islanders?
Well,
and this is literally what I have for the show, because I think we could take up the entire episode with this one question, because there's so much going on here that I think is just going to cascade into other conversations.
Yeah. It goes right back to last night's game, or Monday night's game, right? They were shutting out the Red Wings through 40 minutes, maybe even through 45, 50, almost 50 minutes. And then all of a sudden, defensive breakdown after defensive breakdown after defensive breakdown. Like, they were playing well against the Red Wings. Lane Lambert decided to change things up in the third period and take Barzal off of Horvat's line, even though they were creating chances. So it was very strange to me. Maybe he was just looking for for them to finally bank one in. But I don't know. A lot of weird decisions being made as far as line changes. Like, Lambert straight up said, like, he was asked, like, are you going to more often change Bo Horvat and Barzal off of each other's line? And he kind of said with like a sneer, like, well, are you kidding me? No, that's not going to happen. And it happened the very next game. So I do
want to pause on that one thing.
We'll come back to that in a second. It's just I think what we're so mad about is Sorokin can only do so much. He's doing literally as much as he can, playing so excellently for this team that they're wasting it, because then comes the third period, and even though it's like majority of the period is good, the 3 or 4 mistakes that they do make is 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, I don't understand the line changes, and I definitely want to I want to stay on that a little bit. Our friends at Hockey Night, or Sean rather, at Hockey Night, said is a little bit of overcoaching. And his partner, Stephen Roser, I have his article up at the Hockey News, and he said the line changes and moving Barzal with Horvat, or off of Horvat's line, and playing with Pajot and Holmstrom on Saturday night, said it was a move that would have been more understandable had the Islanders been chasing a goal or two with 20 minutes to play. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, because the first time I read it, I thought it said it'd be understandable if they hadn't been, and you just wanted to change it up. But when you're chasing those games and you need to score goals, I'm not understanding. And maybe I'm misreading it, and he is saying that because I'm doing it off the corner of my eye, but I don't understand that move like that. And it's something that he's done dating back to last season, and it doesn't. The whole point was for them to play together, and if they weren't going to, You needed to just establish that, because that's been a huge question mark for this team, right? Barzal needed a consistent partner. Why split them up? And why put him with players that you elevated Holmstrom, you tried him on that line? Why would he just work with a different center all of a sudden? What's the difference between Horvat and Pajot at that point? I'm not 100% sure. And so do you think they're winning games, and again, they're winning games, but it's been frustrating to watch. Is it over coaching a little bit, as Sean suggested?
Yeah, I could see that being the case, and look, maybe the reason that he's overcoaching is because he sees maybe Horvat and Barzell are clicking, and maybe, after Pierre Engval, Brock Nelson, and Kyle Palmieri, the third line isn't. So maybe he's looking to get them going by putting Barzell there because he's creating chances. But still, I mean, like, I have it up here via Money Puck. Lee Horvat and Barzell in 6 games have accrued a 51.4 expected goals for percentage, which is the positive side of the expected goal share. That's pretty good. So it's not, it's not great. It's down there in the amongst the lines in the league. It's at 113, which includes defensive pairs. But they're sitting around, Tage Thompson and Jeff Skinner and Alex Tuck. They're sitting around like Tavares, Bertuzzi, and Nylander. It's not like they're very far off from like these other established top 6 lines. So, Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Achuskin are up here. So why are we breaking that line up?
Yeah, I was going to say, at what point, if he's just not happy with it, does he make the change and like permanently just get a different line together? Because Lee and Barzell had worked when Barzell was playing center. Is part of the problem that, again, we're it's like beating a dead horse with a dead horse at this point. Is the problem the other winger? In other words, is it Lee, or is it because Horvat and Barzell do work well together when they're playing north-south hockey, right? You saw Bo Horvat scream down the right side. It was amazing to watch. It's other than Barzell, we just had not been occasionally Nelson. That's not typically his game, but Horvat just turned and burned and turnstile that defenseman, just went straight down, no move until he got to the dot and he cut to the middle and got a chance early in that game against Detroit. When Barzell is playing north-south too, I've been beating that drum forever, they are getting chances. Lee made a bunch of turnovers on in the game against Detroit. You are right at the Islanders' blue line. And it was one of those, they just looked like they weren't focused. Again, and he's the captain. And that's also something that goes back to last season. This team it's a lot of mental lapses. It's a lot of just being unfocused during these games. You should be able to just shut down a team at, you're up 2-0, or I think they were up 2-0 in the start of the third. It was 1-0 after the second against Detroit. You have to do that. I don't know what the what do you think of the defensive pairings? I think maybe we can pivot to that for a second. Romanov and Pulak are playing really well together. What are the rest of the pairings look like to you with Dobson, Pelech, and now Aho and Bolduc?
Well, I think Dobson's been pretty good too. He's starting to, which is great for them. He's starting to evolve into more of what they thought he was going to be, playing both sides of the puck really well. And pairing him with Pelech, you don't really have to worry too much about, if he has defensive lapses, because Pelech is going to be there to make up for that. So, and like you said, the Romanov and Pulak pairing has been on for literally 0 goals against. Like that's excellent. Have they created any goals? No, but at least they're not, allowing them in the back of their net, so it kind of cancels out. The third pair, Bolduc and Aho, is like, I don't know, not great.
They look terrible. I mean, Aho has some shiftiness in getting the puck out of his own zone, but do the Islanders really miss Mayfield at this point? Which we were started the season with him being a question mark in general. You know, that deal is really long and he's steady back there, but isn't flawless by any stretch. But at this point, are they really missing? Like, Bolduc does not look ready. He's been on the ice for it feels like a lot of goals or a lot of chances against poor positioning. A lot of some of these goals like on Monday were just players left out by themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Absolutely no one around.
Bolduc is actually sitting pretty high in the Corsi for percentage. He's been on for 68 chances for 58 against. That's pretty good. It's fourth on the team right now with 53.9, almost 54. But the thing is that those chances against, like, are they high danger chances? Like, is he giving up really tough ones to the opposing teams? And I mean, no, not really. I mean, his expected goals against is about a 3. It's not great, but it's not horrible either. What's really, I think the thing here is, like, when you had Mayfield on, he was the guy who was opening up the ice for the opposite defender, right? He was taking care of the defensive game. He was playing the body, whereas when that was happening, Aho was able to worry about, okay, I just got to transition this puck away from danger, out of our zone, get it up the ice, and get it to the forwards. And that's what would happen. Neither of these guys are doing that, right? That's not Bolduc's game. That's not Aho's game. They're both kind of just like chip the puck, move it, and get it up the ice. But if nobody's using the body, if nobody's laying the body out there, there's too many bodies and too much ice occupied, rather than having those bodies away from away from those high danger areas. So I think that that's really what they're missing, is somebody on that third pair to clear up ice. And I think that's really why it's not working all that well.
I'm also, in watching some of these games, going back to the forwards, but in the defensive zone, I haven't been paying too close attention to the combinations of lines and defensive pairs and who are the more defensively responsible centers and coming back. I did see Barzal hanging low in his own zone and Horvat kind of on the wing there a few times in that Detroit game. I didn't notice it all that much prior, but it's something I picked up on, and just it seems like it's confusing that it's not man-to-man coverage, but it doesn't seem like zone because there's always a lot of movement. It's a lot like the penalty kill, where it just seems like guys are kind of all over the place to me. It's not how I would organize it, and they haven't been successful, so I don't know why they continue doing it. It's been years of over different coaches. It's been years of the one forward up at the top kind of yo-yoing back and forth, and they can never keep up with the puck. If it's anything that we've all learned as a kid, is you can't outskate a pass. And that memo just has not reached the Islanders coaching staff. And it's a lot of, even at 5-on-5, it seems like it's a lot of chasing and getting back into position.
Well,
and you can see it on the replays, right? It's just guys diving all over the place when a player is left all alone. Is, where are you? You're skating away from the game. Like Dobson did that a couple times. Again, it's a lack of focus too. It's incredible.
Right. So, and the point you just said is well stated, in the fact that looking at natural stat trick right now, only 8 players on the Islanders through 8 games have been on the ice for more chances for than they have against. That means that the rest have been on for more chances against than they have been for, which just really goes to show you how much the goaltending is buoying this team right now, which feels like it has been the storyline forever. But Also, take Mayfield out of that equation because he's second on the team with just one game. It's really 7 players who are on the ice for more chances than they are against. And the one line of Nelson, Palmieri, and Engval are a lot further ahead in the chances for category than they are against. And everyone else is kind of close. You have Engval. I'm sorry, you have Barzell, you have Holmstrom, and you have Pelech at an even 50%, right? Everyone else is at like 50.88, 50.94, and then you have Engval 52%, Palmieri 54%, and Brock Nelson leading the team at 55%. Everyone else is on for more chances against, which means that they're not playing with the puck more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, the fourth line is easy to see that. They're chasing. It's not their game, although Cizikas had a great shorthanded goal. I feel like we've seen him talking about beating a player to the outside and skating. The one that sticks out of my mind is the one against Fleury in that 2013 playoff series. But he's made a habit of that move. I love watching his game. Talk about a sad day when he's not an Islander anymore, one way or another. Cizikas is going to be a tough one for me, maybe harder than Bailey. So the fourth line doesn't surprise me. The third line, given that it's two younger players, also doesn't surprise me because it puts Lambert, to his credit, it puts Lambert in a tough spot because you want Pajot in the defensive zone to win the draw. So that's where you start to mix up lines a little bit. You're not going to put that line out of the box the way that it is in the defensive zone for a draw, unless it's an icing. That's not going to set you up for success. Those two players just have not proven that they have that ability. So that's when you start messing with the lines even a little bit. And I saw it. Who was out there? It was during this line blending thing, and it was Pajot and Cizikas were out at the same time for a considerable amount of time, 40 seconds. So it wasn't just that the lines were crossing over a little bit. And I just didn't understand what was happening. It was very confusing to kind of watch how they were doing that. And I think some of that is, sure, you want younger players in the lineup, and that's great. But this is one of those situations where all of a sudden you just have two of your forwards that cannot have a defensive zone start. And that creates a little bit of a problem because you're going to start jumbling lines a little bit. Who's starting after a goal? I haven't seen if that's the fourth line. That was what the case was for a very long time. But you just keep kind of mixing things up, and it's not fully working. And it's 6 of those players that aren't at or below, that are at or below 50% expected goals. You can kind of give a pass to, but like Pajot, maybe even Cizikas to a degree, but his line is, you're just not going to do it. I don't know what you do there. I don't know how you mix up there just aren't enough players of that quality.
Natsman Hockey is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. The NFL season is going strong, and DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with an offer that's even stronger. Bet $5 on any game this week to score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game this October. I'll be taking the bet that the Chargers beat the Cowboys at a plus 110 money line. So get in on the game day greatness. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5 on the NFL. That's code THPN, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. The holidays are the most chaotic time of the year. It may be too early to start decorating for the holidays, but it's never too early to start your holiday shopping. Why not take care of it now before the crowds and packed calendars make shopping a total nightmare? Especially when you can get some of the best deals of the season well before Black Friday. You can shop Raycon products right now and save up to 50% off because their early Black Friday sale is going on right now. Raycon's wireless earbuds are some of the best bang for your buck earbuds you can get on the market right now. Raycon first made a name for themselves in the audio space, with products like their everyday earbuds known for delivering high quality and thoughtful features, like a 32-hour battery life and a perfect in-ear fit for all-day wear and lasting comfort. And in this past year, they expanded their entire business with the introduction of Raycon Home and Raycon Power Tech. Their 5-star reviewed Magic 180 cable allows you to charge iOS, micro USB, and Type-C devices 8 times faster with 100-watt power delivery. Raycon is known for delivering high-quality audio and thoughtful features at half the price of other premium tech brands. It's no wonder their products have racked up tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. To get everyone in the holiday shopping spirit a bit early, Raycon is currently offering 20% off everything on their site with select products up to 50% off. So beat the crowds and save now. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on Raycon's early Black Friday sale. Hurry now to buyraycon.com/THPN to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score up to 50% off Raycon products. buyraycon.com/THPN.
With Holmstrom clearly gaining some confidence, I feel like I can see him out there. His skating is getting much better. He's more confident with the puck in passing. He had a great goal the other night. He sniped. I forget what game that was. He had a great goal. So there's something there with him. What do you think of Wahlstrom? You guys remember with Wahlstrom and Holmstrom in, it means that most of all that Fasching is out, but also Gauthier, who I feel like both of them as a third line is a really good defensive shutdown line with Pajot. So it's interesting that they're kind of in this mess where they don't necessarily have that, and they have a bunch of lines that can or aspire to score goals. That third line I think wants to be a goal scoring line. But other than the fourth line, you don't really have anybody that's very defensively responsible. And that might be causing some of that. So what have you seen out of Wahlstrom? Clearly he's earned it to Lambert, but has he earned it with you?
Yeah, I think he's kind of reinvented himself a little bit. He's not just going to be that pure goal scorer that, we all hoped he would be. And maybe that's, coming. Maybe it will come. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but as of right now, he's kind of just in that forechecking role, and he kind of does that decently well. He's not the worst forechecker. We know he's not afraid to lay the body. We know he's not afraid to get under the opposing team's skin. So he's had to, kind of reinvent himself to make sure that he stays in the lineup and he stays in the good graces of the coaching staff. So he's been okay, but you'd really like to see him become that guy who you can depend on to score a goal here and there. Like they need that, obviously. Just looking at the list here, they have in the goals department, they have Nelson and Horvat scoring 4 apiece. They have Palmieri scoring 3, and then everybody else is kind of just chipping in, and he's sitting at a goose egg, I believe, right? Wahlstrom. Yeah, he's got no points at all. So he's really just become that checking forward as of right now, and you want to see more out of him. He's not really creating many chances. He's at a 40, 45, 4, 61 against. Like, I don't know. They drafted him to be a goal scorer. He was a first-round pick. He's got to shoot the puck, put it on net, get into open ice where you're going to be fed, and just good things happen when you get the puck on net, and I don't think that's what he's doing. Everything else, yes, but he's not getting the puck on net.
And it's, no, he's not. And it's an interesting trade-off, right? I don't think Fasching was playing poorly, but Lambert clearly made a decision. I want somebody that can shoot the puck. And then He's not necessarily doing that. And if he is, like, somebody dropped him the puck the other night against Detroit, and he just takes a very weak, low percentage shot from the point. It was turnaround. His momentum was going away from the net. It wasn't a very good shot. I can't even remember if it made it through. But you've clearly made the decision that you want a little bit more of a scoring touch, in addition to Holmstrom, who I think has really has earned a spot. And then you're
it's funny. It's funny you said. Sorry to interrupt. I'm looking at just shots in general, the shot stat. All right, shooters shoot 31 for Nelson, 33 for Horvat. A bit lower, but 20 for Kyle Palmieri. Wahlstrom in 5 games has 7 shots. It's funny that you say Holmstrom is in your good graces because he's only got 6.
Well, he's playing a better game overall. Like he can at least move around out there. You're seeing him do something. Wahlstrom's out there. I'm not seeing. He's, as my mom used to say, he's like, that was a lazy game. Like, you weren't involved. You were just figure skating out there. We don't pay for you to go just for a skate. You could do that on Fridays. That's Wahlstrom to me. He's just not engaged fully in the game. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's just waiting for a specific opportunity that, unfortunately, we've seen with him. It just isn't going to come. He's waiting for something that just isn't going to materialize. I think what's interesting, I was looking at the points, and obviously I don't think this is going to last, but Zizekas and Clutterbuck they're 2-2. They have 4 points. Ahead of Anders Lee, tied with Engval. Peugeot's only got 2 points. Again, Holmstrom only has the 1 goal. It's very early in the season. It's some time for things to develop here, but you really don't want to see some of your fourth liners being in the top half of your scoring. And someone needs to do it. I think they've all been relatively tight games. That game, with the exception of the one against the Avalanche, which was maybe one of them. It's only been 8 games. The most disheartening game of the season. We should talk about that. What a back and forth, and they just let off the gas, and they, I don't know, give the game away. That was a lot like against Detroit. Again, that late game focus, and it kind of they lost in a little bit different way, just because the quality of those two teams are different. But you just let the game slip through your fingers. They don't have that ability anymore to like shut it down.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the difference between a team like the Avalanche, who are able to smell blood and pounce, and a team like the Islanders, who are just trying to defend till the end, right? Like, it's very clear that the Islanders' way still is score a couple, get ahead, try to keep it, instead of continuing to put the puck in the net. Like, that's not the game plan. The game plan is score a couple, stay ahead. We have the goaltending. They'll keep the puck out of the net, even if they don't. It's not their fault. Like, the fact that Ilya Sorokin's expected goal saved above expected right now is like barely over the positive line. I don't put that on him. Like, the goaltenders have been excellent. They can only do so much.
Agree. Really good. They both have a shutout already. They're splitting games, or Sorokin's getting the lion's share of the starts, and they still managed to both have a shutout 8 games into the season. I don't know any other team that has that.
I know they scored 4 last night, the Red Wings against the Islanders in the third period, or 3 in the third period and 1 in overtime. But, it was a shutout through the first 50 minutes for Sorokin. And then, suddenly the Red Wings are scoring in bunches. That was all on the defense. The team 100%. As a whole, all on defense. And like, I saw comments like, "Oh, Sorokin was too deep in his net for that one." Well, they're peppering the guy because no one's taking a lane. No one's taking the body. No one's laying down on the ice to block a shot. Nobody's clearing pucks. Like, they're just wave after wave after wave of attack by the Red Wings. And every time it was like, oh, okay, the puck's on their stick. They're going to skate it out of the zone. No, the Red Wings forecheck like crazy. Nobody was moving their feet, and they got the puck back, and they scored. That happened 4 times.
Yeah. Sorokin's getting, just by some quick math here, shots against divided by games played, it's 33 and a half shots a game, which if you're thinking about the Islanders, well, rather, if you took what the narrative is about the Islanders being a defensive team, that's a lot. But as and I have discussed,
that is a lot. That's funny. So that is a lot. Now, hear me out. And we always go back to those 2 years they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, but their defense was so good those years that they were averaging 28 shots against per game. That's literally the difference in last night's game. That's literally a win. Without those 4 shots that wind up going in the net, that's a win.
Or even 2 of them. Like it doesn't need to be all. It doesn't need to be all 4. It just needs to be they win the game 3-2.
So right, it's 33. So that's 5. Right, that's 5. So the Red Wings end up scoring 1 goal yesterday instead of 4, and the Islanders still get the 2 points. That's a win.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting way to look at it. That's an interesting way to look at it. I agree, right? I think that's the same kind of logic that you could use where it was the Islanders were a shorthanded goal against away from making it to the Stanley Cup final in that Game 7 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, they didn't score a goal in that game, so it's really hard. Eventually, maybe they get another goal scored against, right? You go into overtime, and that with more hockey, there was always an opportunity, but you were really that close. It was with a goal or less away, right? Like, I don't exactly know how the math works on that. But my point was going to be, I think that narrative needs to be thrown out the window. I know we've really discussed that and talked about how that really isn't this team's thing, but it's not worth bringing up anymore. They have good goaltending, but they really don't have strong defense. They have one good pair right now. Dobson scoring a ton of points. If I'm not mistaken, he's leading the team in points. That's great.
Yeah,
now, I mean, he needs to be better defensively, and I don't think that's a secret. But if you're going to be the player, a Carlson where you're going to outscore your problems, sure, go for it. But you have to make sure the rest of your team can kind of hold it together, and you can't just be completely a mess in your own zone. But that's a positive sign, right? He's outscoring like these 9 points in 8 games is great. It's definitely what you want to see. I don't know about leading the team, but that might just mean a bunch of other players need to kind of get their shit together. But Barzal should have more than 1 goal in 8 games. I think that's something that everybody would be hoping for here. So I'm not. I see a lot of the narrative being that it's only 8 games in. They can, they're 5 shots away from or limiting 5 shots or some, not some defensive breakdowns away from having a few extra points here. When I was listening, on Steve Dangle, and he kept saying in one episode, mid-season comes early. The middle of the season comes really quick, right? We're now by the time you're listening to this, it's already November, which is crazy. I've had the heat on for a couple of weeks up north. Thanksgiving is in a second, right? And that's typically a little bit of a barrier there to Thanksgiving, early December. And I think the Islanders are in a good enough space, but not for long, right? Eventually this kind of shit catches up. Is it still too early to be? I think it's okay to be frustrated, but should we be mad? Like, I'm actually mad watching these games. It's just not fun to watch, and not fun in this is boring hockey type way. It's become very frustrating and maddening to watch these games.
Here's why I'm going to say no. As frustrated as it might we might sound. Elliot Friedman has a statistic that he lives by, which is if by Thanksgiving you're 4 points out of the playoffs or more, you have a 15% chance the rest of the way to make it. Right now, where they're sitting, they're only 1 point out of a playoff spot in the standings with 10 points, right? They're behind the Lightning and the Leafs in the wild card. They're 1 point behind New Jersey for the third place in the Metro, 2 points behind the Hurricanes, and 4 points behind the Rangers. So by any stretch of the imagination, they're not out of it whatsoever. And again, it's very early. No one's really out of it, but that 15% chance by Thanksgiving holds true just based on the math and the history of it. Off the top of my head, only like the St. Louis Blues have overcome that, right? Being way out of it in January. Very few others have done so. I think the LA Kings recently, when they actually went on that championship run, when they were the 8th seed and they won it, they did it too. But that's like the few you can name. Right now, they're only 1 point out. By Thanksgiving, we'll see where that number is. They're okay for now. They have time to work it out and get back on track. They banked a point last night, which was huge. They could have been down, a little more. They would have been sitting behind Florida, Washington, and Philly, which would have been a problem. But at this moment, they're in good shape. They just need to figure it out in front of their goaltending.
Their upcoming schedule, so they're playing a struggling Capitals team, followed by a team in the Carolina Hurricanes that's not the record you'd expect. 6-4 is not kind of what you'd expect, but they have won 3 in a row now, so they're reversing their fortunes a little bit. They were 3-4, and it looked a little scary for them, but that's a really good team. And then you play the Wild and the Bruins. The Wild are doing okay, kind of what you'd expect from the Minnesota Wild. That's just kind of been their brand and kind of forgettable. Always have to worry about a Kaprizov, and a couple of their players are really good. And Western Conference hockey is always a little bit different. Islanders don't always fare so well against the West. I think in recent memory, it's been a little bit better, but then the Bruins, who are just lost their first game recently, in overtime. They're still on technically a point streak. So they're not going away. So you're dealing with a lot of these teams. Then they play the Capitals again, on the 11th. There aren't as many excuses now. This is a lot like last season, where they can kind of just sneak in as an 8 seed or 7 seed, or in one of the wild cards. Knowing what we know from last season, and they have time to turn it around. And I think what's the most aggravating thing is I know that they're capable of more, because you see it. You watch this team play really well. But if they go through this season ho-hum and kind of just get into the playoffs, and as Barzell said, wouldn't it be so much easier if we just were in as a 3rd seed in our division, and just we kind of knew a month beforehand, or whatever the case is? Wouldn't it be a little bit nice? And I think everyone would agree with that. But if they kind of get in that 7-8 seed in the wild card, I think their chances are as good as last year, in so much as I think they're just going to get smoked in the first round, and we're going to be right back here next year with maybe a different team. And I don't want to have that conversation or whatever, but or maybe not. Maybe they just keep riding the same thing because they made the playoffs. But right now, this doesn't look like a team that is fully forged. I don't know what you do. I don't know what changes there are left to make. I don't know. You can rearrange deck chairs all you want if you're Lambert. To me, you need to let things gel. You just keep, other than the second line, so he knows what's good and what's working. I just don't know what you do with Lee. Is that, as I asked earlier, is that the catalyst Is that what's hurting you? He's not
I
playing
think
well.
unfortunately, I think unfortunately he's the best option to round out the duo of Barzal and Horvat, but he has to be a third liner for them to be a playoff team and a threat, in my opinion. So right now, it's the best they have to work with. But the thing here is that moving Lee up to the first line puts Barzal back on the right wing, and he said to Lambert, I know I'm more comfortable on the left. So automatically now, not only are you putting Barzal out of position, you're putting him at a position he's least comfortable at, right? Because it's center or left wing, but no, now he's got to play right. Is it working between Barzal and Horvat still? Yes, it's still working, but it could be better. So I don't know. That's where things get interesting. Now, I'll say this. There was a little bit of smoke around the Zach Parise situation back on the ice, training. So let's say that somehow they figure out how to fit him under the cap. Maybe they wait a little longer because the cap accrues and they are able to sign him. Great. Maybe he gels with Horvat and Barzal, and there's your answer. 21 goals last year. Is he ideal? I mean, maybe for the price tag.
Isn't that such chicken shit stuff, though?
Yeah.
Isn't that so like Garth Snow?
Yeah.
Waiver wire kind of. And I love Parise. 20 goals, and last season he was easily the most consistent. But isn't that's chicken shit?
You love him for the third line. You love him to come back and sign on and play on a line with Lee and Pajot. Now suddenly, you're right. Your second line is Palmieri, Engval, and Nelson. Your first line is Horvat, Barzal, and X top six forward. And your third line is Parise, Pajot, and Lee, and then the fourth line. And all of a sudden, you're looking at this top 12, and you're like, holy shit, that's a team.
Well, what's interesting there is, I think that's next year. Like, and Parise notwithstanding, because if he's questioning this season, he's for sure not going to come back next year. It's interesting because that leaves 4 players. You're talking about X on the first line, and that may include one of those 4. That's Wahlstrom, Holmstrom, Gauthier, and Fashing that you're just not including. And if Parise comes on, someone's getting waived. Someone's going somewhere. I don't know who requires waivers or who doesn't at this point off the top of my head. So that seems to be something like it would be for next season if it was going to be at all. Unless they make a trade or something. Like they have to open up a roster spot one way or another. And then they still have to, those 4 players have a really low cap hit. So you're talking about max $1 million maybe. There's really nowhere to. I understand bringing in Parise. That third line would be killer. That would be the equivalent of kind of bringing on Zajac back in the day and having him on that third line. I think that worked out really, really well. So bringing obviously Parise and Zajac are different players, but that would be a great third line. I think that'd be more than a shutdown line. I think that they could actually put some stuff together on top of being super responsible. You have 2 guys that can score 20 goals, 25 goals.
I think I just looked it up too. There's a glaring option out there right now for the taking. A guy who wants to be traded, has already asked for it, is working with a team to try to get it done, but is also playing really well. He's only got 2 points in 8 games, but looking at his analytics, it looks very good. He's leading the Canucks right now in Corsi for percentage, 90 chances for, 52 against. He's at a 63.38, and that team's playing well. He's at a 60.19 expected goals for percentage, expected to score 3.38 goals, expected against 2.23. I mean, he's playing very well. He's a guy who wants to be traded. You stick him at right wing on the first line. move Barzal back to the left where he's most comfortable, and all of a sudden that top line, you get this done, right? Wallstrom.
Who's this player? You have not said the name of the player.
Sorry, did I not say Connor Garland? Connor Garland.
We've mentioned him before. It's just so expensive, and they can't keep any salary.
They know, the Canucks know that they need to keep salary to trade him.
So it's a 3-team deal at best.
Potentially, yeah.
Because someone's got it. If they have to hold a little bit and another team.
Go get this player. This guy who all he does is create chances. You have your shooter in Horvat. Barzal shooting the puck more. You have guys that know how to play make. Like, go get this player. Give yourself a legitimate top 6. Move Lee down to the third line. Suddenly you're cooking with gas now.
Yeah, he's a little bit better than half a point a game player. He's hit 20 goals before. He's 27. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about him a little bit before the season started as somebody. Yeah, I'd love for them to figure that out, and then I don't know if you can then afford Parise too, but then it's kind of irrelevant. It's Lee, Peugeot, and it really any one of those 4 players. I think it's a real struggle. 5 if you count Parise. It's any one of those 5 players on that third line. You send one guy down, you don't sign Parise, you're down to 3. You need an extra guy. Maybe. I mean, Garland's got a couple years left, so this season and 2 more. I don't know. You send Wallstrom over that way.
Yeah,
but you're kind of giving a player away that's like they're not neither Holmstrom or Wallstrom. I don't think they have any actual value. This isn't like Beauvillier that had like some kind of track record, but
there's definitely potential in opposing clubs seeing like who the player is, what their what their qualities are, and whether or not that's going to work in their system well or not. I don't necessarily believe that just because the statistics aren't there from what they're seeing, and from an Islander perspective, isn't something that they don't think would fit on their team, in their system. There's value in the age, there's value in the potential, there's value in just Wallstrom in general. Generally speaking, his shot is immaculate. Just use the damn thing. Maybe it's not the right system for him. Maybe he needs to be successful somehow else. The thing with Connor Garland is that he's leading the team in all these chances and accruing all this potential to put pucks in nets, and he's doing that on the third line. He's playing with Beauvillier, ironically, and Pia Suter. So he's and this is at 5-on-5. He's driving play on that line, creating the most chances for his team on the third line, on a team that has JT Miller, Brock Besser, Andrei Kuzmenko, Elias Pettersson. Like, they have talent, and he's driving the bus. Go get him.
Yeah. I don't disagree. And I know we don't want to just talk about what they need to add, but it does seem like they're missing something. And I think on D as well, but that just may be Scott Mayfield. We have not seen, unfortunately, the full defensive core, how it was planned. The one pair is working out. Maybe they need to kind of still mess around the edges there with something. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I mean, go get the player.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, for years we've been talking about defense, and like, look, I get it, but at the same time, like, if the other team doesn't have the puck, they can't score. And getting a guy like Connor Garland only helps you have the puck more than have it less. So it almost alleviates the responsibility of the defense a little bit.
Yeah, right. Best defense is a good offense kind of deal. I definitely understand kind of what you're putting down there. I do want to jump on something really quickly because you mentioned Beauvillier. He has 1 point in 8 games. I believe it's an assist.
Yeah.
And when you look down, I saw I retweeted our friend Nick Alberga recently, and it was about 2 other players in Huberdeau and Kadri who are also just not playing well so far this season. It's actually, man, I don't know why. I definitely, Kadri and Goudreau, both playing terrible. In hindsight, and I think we said this even last season, that did Lamoriello somehow have the foresight that it was not worth overpaying for either of those players, whether that was in a trade or the actual dollars, because it looks like a genius move right now. I can't imagine not having Bo Horvat, or if it was his lock or whatever freaking happened. It looks great right now. Horvat and Engval look, even just Engval and his connection with that second line was a million times better right now. It looks that much better than trying to get one of those other 2 players going. Now, maybe they would have clicked with Barzal, who knows? But Horvat's looked great too. And you gave up a guy who has 1 point. And I don't even know if Ratu is on the NHL roster.
No, he's in Abbotsford. So it's a good point. Looking at the Flames lineup, there was a report that came out today that, there was for a couple of weeks now, there was talk that Noah Hannafin, who's a top defenseman for that team, was in contract talks and things were progressing well, yada, yada. But then a bunch of losses came and suddenly now management's taking a step back and saying, we need to really evaluate what's going on here and see what the process is moving forward. So look, if they sell off, there's options to vulture off of that team. Looking at guys like a Mangiapane or maybe a Dubé or something like that. But more to your point about Barzal, Horvat, I sent you that stat yesterday. You remember?
Oh, the Islanders record. Rachel Dory tweeted out the Islanders record since getting Horvat, which I saw somebody update the number, but it's irrelevant. Go for it.
Yeah, so it's impressive, right? Where obviously he's not he didn't put up all the goals last year. He's looking really good this year. But the Islanders, since acquiring Bo Horvat, are 21-7-5, 700 points percentage. He's been nothing but a net positive. He's absolutely the player that they needed. Do they need another one? Yeah, sure. But they got the guy who they traded for. And 21-7-5. That's absurd.
Yeah, and he had obviously had a slow start. And again, he's on pace for 40 goals this year. Be the first 40 goal scorer since Lee? No.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation before. I think Tavares got it, but maybe, did Lee get it after?
I think Lee got it after, yeah.
My mind, it's very funny. My mind immediately goes to Jason Blake, which is a life.
Dude, that's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly who I was going to say too. Yep.
I think the team has been, we're so used to the team being so shit. They're like, it's been 20 years since they've had a 20 goal scorer. We immediately just go to some random guy like Ziggy Palffy was the last
Jason Blake,
good
God
forward.
damn it.
You know what I mean? Like you
Did
go
Matt
to that
Molson
era.
do it, or was that 30 goals?
I want to say 30. I don't think he maybe it was the low 30s, like maybe he got like, or mid 30s, maybe he got like 35.
Yeah.
God, that seems like a lifetime ago too. We're starting and ending the show here with some nostalgia. But yeah, my mind immediately goes to players from like a million years ago. But yeah, so he's on pace to do that. God, it kills me that Barzal just can't find a way. He had that one good season, and he just needs to find that magic, man. Like it's just, he's playing well with Horvat and he's racking up assists, but I don't know. You saw him shoot in the preseason. You know, he's putting a couple, but at some point he's got to figure it out. I don't know how how else to put it there. But some of it has to hinge on him really getting going too. Horvat's doing his thing. They're connecting. The power play looks okay. Every now and again, they're putting one in on that unit, which is so stacked compared to like a lot of the power play units we've seen. Just the three, Nelson, Horvat, and Barzal seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
then
they
I think
had that really
you have
nice goal.
Palms. You have Palms and Dobson. Is that the first power play unit?
Yeah, they had a really nice goal the other night too, where, you know, quick catch and receive from Barzal to Horvat in the bumper, and he just sniped one past. I think it was whoever was in net for the Red Wings, Reimer or Husso. Really nice goal, really nice, and you like to see that happen more often. I, Horvat was a huge ad, huge. Like, we're talking about a completely different team here if they don't get him, but there's still moves to be made, I think.
Yeah, I want to see obviously how the rest of November plays out, and we have obviously the entire month to see how that goes, and it's just been really frustrating. And again, they have, like we started the show with saying, they have a good record. They're in the mix. It's not like they've fallen out of it. I mean, look at the Carolina Hurricanes. We were questioning them, and they just turned it around and decided, all right, we're going to be good again. And I think I even tweeted last night. It's the Islanders are the kind of the epitome of the line. What, do they just forget how to play? And because it just seems like there's just times throughout the game they just simply sleepwalking throughout the game, and it was like 2 quick goals last night, right? Was it a minute apart? Maybe 2. It's so quick. It's never a long period of time. It's always a few shifts in a row where every single line looks like shit. And that's the game. And then all it takes is one bad random shift or a really good play based on a defensive breakdown. And that's the third goal, right? And against. The other two, there's just no reason for that. You don't need a timeout after the second one. You just regroup. You're up 2-1. Put the pressure back on. Get back to your game. Instead, they just are asleep. I don't understand. Again, this goes back to last season.
The Red Wings scored 3.5 goals in 3 minutes last night. I'm sorry, 3 goals in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah,
Can't happen.
But that's been my problem with this team. I don't know. It's Lambert and the leadership on the ice that they cannot stay focused. They either can't start the games focused, or they're just chunks of time. Again, you're talking about 3 to 5 minutes that they just fall apart.
For the people who watch baseball out there, this is typical Aaron Boone going to the binder and taking the pitcher out in the 5th inning after he's only thrown 65 pitches and given up a hit or two and struck out 7 or 8, and they're like, nope, gotta come out, put the reliever in. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, the combination switches don't make sense. Horvat and Barzal are clicking. They're playing well together. They're creating chances together. Again, if you're trying to get someone going on the third line, and that's why you're moving Barzal, okay. But
yeah, don't give a shit about that line. Don't play
double down on the first line. Play them twice in the rotation, and then go back to the third line in the next rotation. Like,
put Pajot on the fourth line every once in a while. You need to get him ice time. If it's a matter of Holstrom and Wallstrom, they're just not doing it. I don't care. Figure it out.
Yep.
Put Pajot on the first line every once in a while instead of Lee, just to get him in the rotation. They were up, and he started screwing around, and that was it. I think that game's a little bit of mental lapses, but I think as a result, as I'm saying it out loud, as a result of the changes, sometimes it's just you're on your game and you're playing well. I don't know why you're just going to change things as the game goes on, when clearly they looked pretty comfortable there. It was not a flawless game, even at 2-0, right? Sorokin definitely bailed them out a few times, but you're up 2-0. If you're going to make changes, it's okay. We need to put a couple like shutdown lines together every once in a while against our top, something. Figure it out. Put Peugeot with Cizikas and Clutterbuck for a second, and just we need a real good shutdown. They're turning it on a little bit. Let's throw out a shutdown line. Things like that are fine every once in a while. To actually just change your lines, I don't understand. It clearly didn't work. You just can't be in your own head that much. That's the coach's equivalent of gripping your stick too tight, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Any last thoughts? We inadvertently had last week off. So there's quite a number of games, but I think what we've seen is kind of the same shit game after game.
Yeah, no. My only last thoughts on this are, like you said earlier, the teams they play coming up are teams they should be beating. Make sure you get that done, and we'll be having a different conversation next week. So we'll see how that plays out. Maybe score a couple more goals, spread it out a little bit. Someone other than Horvat, Palmieri, and Nelson would be nice.
Yeah, them too. They can keep scoring, but we need some other people around.
Yeah,
they clearly need to score 3 and 4 goals a game, right?
Right.
You can't be around. You can't be on the 2-3 mark. You have to be pushing 3.5, 4.5 goals, right? That's got to be your average. You just can't be doing this. And they did it against a good team in the Avalanche, right? So it's not like they're not capable of scoring a lot of goals. They just also let in 7. I don't know if one was an empty net, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's frustrating. So let's see what happens over the next week. For now, we'll say see you later. Happy Halloween. Happy November. Sorry it's cold. Already dealing with here in Syracuse. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at Nassman Hockey. You find James' work at New Jersey Hockey Now and The Fourth Period. And I think we'd be remiss without at least mentioning the really, really tragic passing of Adam Johnson. I hope I'm remembering that name correctly over the weekend. God, that was scary. Just the thought of it. I didn't watch the video, but that's one of the more tragic things you'll see or hear about in your lifetime as far as hockey's concerned. And thoughts with those affected, Penguins fans, their family and friends, obviously, and really the people at the game. I can't imagine watching that and then knowing what happened as a result of that, even if you didn't watch the whole thing through. So thoughts with everybody affected by that. Sorry to end the show like that too, but I didn't want to go through the whole episode and not say anything. We've been a little better with keeping it to the Islanders, but in this case, I think it's a good exception. But James, bring us home.
Until next time, all, let's go Islanders.